Hello from Massachusetts, and good morning to everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining from. I'm Jennifer. If you're joining me for the first time, welcome. If you're coming back, thank you very much. As you can see, it is Halloween, and I love celebrating this holiday. So I put on my witch hat. I'm going to take this up though, because I think it's going to get in the way of the microphone and also drinking tea. But I do think it looks better down. But for practical purposes, we're going to put this up. I'm going to do a quick check of the audio and the video. If things look good and sound good on your end, you can give me a thumbs up or let me know in the chat. I'm going to check on my laptop to make sure we're good to go. And it looks like we are. Okay, how are you all doing today? What do I have on? It's my witch hat. Actually, it was my daughter's from a couple Halloweens ago, and I asked her starting last year if I could use it. So we have different things that I can put on because who knows what's happening later tonight, okay? One of the big traditions is when the children go around from house to house and they receive candy. That's a popular tradition here, and I look forward to this happening every year in our neighborhood. Hey, Yvonne, good to have you here. Sake, Julia, good to have you here. Alan, I think was the first. Welcome. Goodness, I'm going to try to say that one. Die Schadenfreude. No, thank you for all the Halloween stickers there. Hello, hello. I'm hoping that everything looks good on your end. I got a little notification from YouTube about the connection, but I'm hoping that everything will be good for our live stream today. I was referring to trick-or-treating, trick-or-treating. All right, let's put that down. Trick or treating. We usually hyphenate it. And the children are called trick-or-treaters. And when I was a little girl, I went trick-or-treating with my brothers or with friends later when I got older. And we went trick-or-treating in the evening. We'd have like flashlights to go from home to home. But the houses also were lit. They had their lights on. So it wasn't completely dark. And I thought that was more exciting to go trick-or-treating after dark. But for safety purposes, things have changed over the years. And I think in most towns, they do trick-or-treating a little earlier. It starts during the daylight hours, around like 5 o'clock perhaps. That way, you know, the younger children can go around safely with their parents. As it starts to get darker, the trick-or-treaters change in age. And remember, I used to live in this condo association. We lived in a townhome. There's so many condos, so there were so many trick-or-treaters. But from about 5 to 6, the trick-or-treaters were quite young. And then from 6 to 7, the age shifted, and I saw more teenagers going around, preteens and teens, because it's an opportunity to put on your costume, go around with your friends, and then, of course, get a whole lot of candy. So trick-or-treating is a fun tradition that we have. And I also enjoy seeing adults dress up. The parents can get into it too. They can take their kids around and they can wear costumes too. So it becomes a community event, and I usually enjoy seeing everybody celebrate Halloween. Some people get into the spirit of the holiday and they might wear something festive to work. Probably not a big hat like mine, but perhaps some earrings or a necklace of some sort, or just the Halloween colors, which are traditionally black, orange, and sometimes we throw in purple and green. But a lot of the homes on my street are also decorated right now for Halloween. There are spider webs and skeletons and blow-up monsters, like inflatable monsters. So it's really fun to see how creative families are around this time of the year for Halloween. Do I know any spooky monsters? No, I don't. Do you? And there's our first good word of the day. Let's learn that word if you don't know it. Spooky. Spooky is similar to scary, but it's sort of like strange and eerie and mysterious, perhaps a little exciting. I also use the word eerie, which might be new for some of you. Let me see if I can write that word. Eerie. Did I write it correctly? Someone can check my spelling. Eerie. So spooky, eerie, these are synonyms. They're similar. There are lots of words for scary. spooky and eerier too. And so if I share some of the tales today, we might also discover more synonyms for the word scary. Trick-or-treating, yes. Hello from Algeria. Well, hello to you. Hassin, is it Hametouche? I see you. Oh, Stranger Things, yes. Thumbs up if you like that TV series. I love that Netflix series. And if you're a fan of Stranger Things like I am, I know you're eagerly waiting for the final season. Good. All right, guys. So as promised, we have some spooky tales. I was hoping more of you would get into the spirit and write something, but I do have a few submissions and I'll share those. Let me take a sip of tea. Okay, and I'll work my little magic. And from Albania, welcome, welcome. We're going to shift to this and see if you see my screen. Let me take a look at my laptop and make sure we're good to go. You can tell me if it's not Halloween, how is your day going? Are you going to make it special in some way? Ooh, spine chilling. Julia, I like that word. Spine chilling. Notice that there are a number of adjectives we can use. They're hyphenated, and a lot of those hyphenated adjectives end in ing. That's a present participle. Spine chilling, something that chills your spine. Another version is spine tingling. Tingle is that little sensation, kind of not quite like a tickle, but chills, like a little bit of cold. So scary but exciting. Julia wrote spine chilling. You could do spine tingling. If someone wants to write that in the chat for everyone, that would be helpful. And from Peru, good to have you here. Okay. All right. If you want to get further into the Halloween spirit, I'll put this, let me stick that in the chat if I can, right for you. This is a ghost story that I shared back in 2018. Let me see what I can do. I can put that here for you. Okay. That is a story that I shared in 2018 in a video to tell about the parts of a story. And I shared my grandfather's story. So if you want to hear about how my grandfather possibly encountered a ghost while walking through a cemetery at night, you can listen to that later today and enjoy it again a few years later. Okay. There is a question that came in from a member. So before I get to the tales, I'd like to address this one question. Again, I usually invite members to submit any questions before a live stream. And as Rompols, I hope I say that right, Rompolis, wrote, "Hello, Jennifer. I'd like to know more about indirect questions and their use in polite speech. Do Americans use these questions, or are they more direct nowadays? Thank you." Does everyone understand the question? Indirect questions. Think about that for a moment. Okay. So what I understood is that, okay, when I think of indirect speech, I might also be thinking of reported speech. But I understand this to be about embedded questions when we don't ask a direct question like, what is your favorite movie? That's a direct question, a real question. The indirect question or embedded question puts one question inside of another or inside of a statement. Like, could you tell me what your favorite movie is? Can you tell me? Do you happen to know what her favorite movie is? So it's one question inside of another. And when we put one question inside of another, remember, we have to shift back to statement word order where we have subject and verb. So in a real question or a direct question, we invert, we switch the subject and verb instead of, I don't know, what is your name? My name is. So my name is. Is your name Joe? Is your name Rob? Is your name Ahmed? So what is your name? What is her name? Those are direct questions. Do you happen to know what her name is? Could you tell me what his name is? So when I put one question inside of another, it becomes an indirect or an embedded question, and we shift or we invert the word order. Okay, so that we have verb subject. Now the question is, when do we do that? It is usually more typical of polite speech because, asking directly might be too abrupt. And if you use an embedded question or an indirect question, you're being a little bit less demanding. So it's indirect, okay? Yes, we still use them. That's the answer to the question. Yes, Americans use these questions, but it all depends. It depends on your relationship and it depends on the situation. I think if everything is very friendly and the setting is relaxed, you can go ahead and ask direct questions. If you're getting to know someone, like, oh, where do you live? What do you do? Those are fine, and your tone of voice can also communicate that you're being friendly and nice. You're not being demanding. Like, what do you do? What do you do in your free time? So my voice is gentle and nice. I'm being friendly. But again, if you don't want to seem like you're asking for too much information, if you don't want to sound too demanding, you can switch to the indirect or embedded questions. Can I ask you what you do in your free time? Right? Can I ask you? So some common ways to form these embedded questions are with these kinds of starters. Do you happen to know when the live stream is? Can you tell me what the link is? Would you tell me how to get to the pharmacy? Any of those kinds of indirect questions are usually a little more polite. Okay, so I hope that's a good answer to the question. And maybe before we go on, let me test you very quickly. I'm going to say a direct question, and I want you to form the embedded question, which requires you to invert the subject and verb. So if I say, what is his name? What's his name? I want you to put in the chat, do you know what his name is? Or could you tell me what his name is? Get it? So you can use one of these starters, okay, and make the embedded question, the indirect question, okay? Thank you, my hippo. Okay, so here we go. First one. What's her dog's name? What's her dog's name? What is her dog's name? Can you make the indirect question? Use one of these. What's her dog's name? Ellen Bergkamp, I see you. You're most welcome. Who can make that? What's her dog's name? Do you happen to know? Could you tell me? Would you tell me? Can you tell me? Do you know what her dog's name is? Do you know what her dog's name is? Exactly. Very good, Mahippo. Is has to go at the end. Okay. Do you know what her dog's name is? Surprise, I'm not sure what you're asking for. If my memory serves me right, her dog's name is Bobby. That's a good grammatically written sentence, but my dog's name isn't Bobby. But glad to have you from Sudan. Okay, let me try one more. Why is she wearing a hat? Why is she wearing that hat? Why is she wearing that hat? Can you form one more question for me? That's an embedded question. The direct question is, why is she wearing that hat? You could start with, do you happen to know? And of course, it doesn't have to be an indirect question. It could also be a statement like, I don't know. I'd like to know. I wonder. So those also lead into an embedded question. But you could use, do you happen to know, to form that indirect question. Again, the real question is, why is she wearing that hat? And again, the answer to the previous question is, do you know what her dog's name is? Could you tell me what her dog's name is? Okay, but remember, I wonder why she's wearing the hat. I wonder why she's wearing that hat. Very good. That's an embedded question. If you want to make it an indirect question like this one, you could say, do you happen to know why she's wearing that hat? Do you happen to know why she's wearing that hat? She's wearing, not is she. Remember, the direct question is, why is she? But we're going to invert it to form this indirect question. Do you happen to know why she's wearing that hat? Okay. All right, guys. Good question, and I hope you learned from the answer. Okay. If you're watching the recording and you'd like to create some of your own examples with embedded questions, please go ahead. I'll take a look later at comments. Okay. All right. So I did ask people to take on the October Writing Challenge, and I got a few submissions. So let's go to our first. Okay. Our first submission is called Ghost in the Bedroom. Ooh, does that sound spooky? I think it is, based on a true story. Ready? I'll read it as is, and then we'll talk about some changes. All right. It's already very well written. We're just going to polish it up a little more. A ghost in the bedroom. My grandmother often told her family the story of the nighttime ghost. She swore the tale was true, and we had no reason to doubt her. This malevolent spirit, who appeared to be male, frequently stood by her bed, pulling on the covers. It was as if the apparition was unhappy with Grandma for being there. Did the spirit once live in the lady's house? Whatever the reason, Grandma had had enough. She moved to a new home, and much to her relief, the spooky ghost was never seen again. Ooh. Can you imagine? What would you do if something or someone was pulling on your covers while you slept in bed at night? I think I would scream. And Masood Kaya, I just saw your answer pop up. Make sure you put is at the end of the sentence. Okay? Okay, here we go. Could this? I want to put it down. It looks really nice, but then it becomes harder to see. So I have to put this up. Okay, first things first, guys. There's a lot of variation these days on the internet. When I was taught to write titles, I was taught to capitalize the first word, the last word, and then all important words like content words. We're talking nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs. So little words like prepositions and articles are not usually capitalized unless they're the first or last word. So I think it's perfectly fine because on the internet you find so many variations these days. But personally, I would put that as a lowercase I and a lowercase t. Another thing you're going to see sometimes on the internet these days, even in on news sources, on news platforms, sometimes they use what's called sentence case, and they only capitalize the first letter, and everything else is lowercase. But I was taught back in school, when we're writing a title, to capitalize, again, the first and last words, and then important words in between, but not little function words like articles and prepositions. Okay? All right, second thing, this is very well written, but one thing I challenge writers to do, and I've been challenging Patreon members to do too, is look for repetition. Everyone struggles with this. When you're speaking, it's totally fine to be repetitious. You can repeat common words. That's why we have common words, because they're commonly used. And it's easy to access these high frequency words when we speak. When we write, it depends what our purpose is. Again, if you're just describing something quickly and casually, you just want to be clear. But if you're really trying to put your best out there, then you want to revise, meaning you want to make changes several times to keep taking it up, up, up to the highest level you're capable of, right? And it's difficult because, what we read sounds pretty good the first time to our ears. Often it does take another pair of eyes to catch things. Or you step away from your writing for an hour or a few days, come back to it, and you will see your writing with fresh eyes. And then you'll be able to catch things and improve things. Okay? Okay. So one thing I saw is here. Look, 1, 2, and I think there was a 3, right? Was. 1, 2, was. I think there's 3 was's. I saw at least 2. But okay. So what I'm thinking is, first of all, again, it depends on the tone. There's, everyday grammar, which is a little more flexible. And then there's sort of that, what we call it, prescriptive grammar, what textbooks tell us we should do. Technically, if we're talking about something hypothetical or not real, I would shift this to were, the subjunctive. It was as if the apparition were unhappy, but maybe it really was. This we can argue back and forth. It was as if the apparition, was it really? Maybe it truly was. We could also use were if we're thinking maybe it wasn't a ghost, but if it were, wow, that would be scary, right? So remember, you can think back to like was and were. It was as if it seemed, I might do it seemed just to avoid the double was. It seemed as if the apparition was. So I first debated, should we be switching that to were? Now I'm thinking maybe we don't, because maybe the apparition truly was unhappy. But to avoid the was, I might change this one to seemed. That works. It seemed as if the apparition was unhappy with Grandma. I think that flows a little better. Otherwise, it's so very well written, and I love the spookiness of the story. Now, here's a challenge. 3 more challenges. I want you to look at the vocabulary. Do you see a synonym for bad or hurtful? Do you see a synonym for bad or hurtful? Let me take this up a level here. Bad or hurtful. And I'll say it's in the first half. Oops, I'm sorry, my picture is hiding. I put it down a little. You should be able to see it. Do you see a synonym for bad or hurtful? Kind of like evil, too. Look for the adjectives. Do you see the one that means bad or hurtful? This one might be new for some of you. As you're looking for that, oh, we got it. My hippo got it. Malevolent. Malevolent. Okay. Again, this very well written. So you could use bad spirit, a bad spirit, even an evil spirit would work. But malevolent, that works really nice for this tale. It's been written down. We can read it. Now, do you see synonyms? That's a tongue twister, isn't it? Synonyms are similar words. Do you see other words for ghost? Instead of using ghost multiple times, the writer used other words, other synonyms. So it's in the title, it's right here, and then we avoid it a few times by using alternative words. Do you see them? How many synonyms do you see for ghost? Can you find them? And this is good, guys. Finding other words means you can write and speak with variety. So especially if you're telling a ghost story, you don't have to say the word ghost 5 or 10 times. You can use other words. Julia, good job. You got it. So go through the story. Here's ghost. What does Stunning Lad 1 use again to refer to that ghost? Well, spooky is the adjective, right? So look for another noun that refers to ghost? I see 2, if my eyes are working with me and helping me today. Look at the story and think, where would ghost fit in? And then you've probably discovered a synonym. Do you see it? Yeah, the grandma had strong nerves. Okay, look, guys. We had no reason to doubt her. This bad ghost. So instead of ghost, what do we have? Spirit. So this bad ghost, this malevolent spirit, who appeared to be male, frequently stood by her bed. It seemed as if that bad ghost, what word do we have? Apparition. Like something that appeared. It's similar to the word appear. So something that appeared, right, to our eyes. And maybe it was real, maybe it wasn't. The apparition. Very good, my hippo got it. So again, instead of saying this ghost, and it seemed as if the ghost, we're not saying ghost yet again. Here we're going to use spirit again. That's fine. Okay. And then we go back to ghost. So it's nice. There is ghost in the title, and then we have ghost at the beginning and end. And in between, Stunning Lad 1 used other words, spirit and apparition. And the final word is other challenge, can you identify 2 reporting verbs? Can you identify 2 reporting verbs? Remember, reporting verbs are like say, something like that. What words are used to help us understand what people said, how they spoke? Can you find reporting verbs? And you can look in the first half, the first part. Do you see the reporting verbs? And this is also a challenge. If you're actually writing out a story, don't keep using he said, then she said, then I said, then you said, said. Said is nice. It works. It's a common reporting verb, but you probably know other reporting verbs. That's something that I've worked on with Patreon members recently. We organized and categorized different reporting verbs. What else can we use besides say? What else can we use besides ask? What else can we use besides shout? So challenge yourself. If you look online and do a nice Google search, there are a number of web pages that have good resources, and they have helpful lists of reporting verbs. So it's good to review those and remember which verbs you know. If you spot a few new ones, look them up, study some examples, and challenge yourself to start using those reporting verbs, because other reporting verbs can be more descriptive. Very good. Masood, I agree with swore. Seem, I'm not sure about. I'd go with swore, right? Swore is like, right, saying with conviction, like she really believed it was true. And this one, a common one, but it's there, right? She told her family. She spoke. So tell, swear, those are reporting verbs. A good word to learn from here is malevolent, right? Spirit and apparition are synonyms for ghost. Again, okay? So I hope you enjoyed a ghost in the bedroom. Right? If you'd like, I'll pause for a moment. If you're watching the recording, you can pause the video and read the story aloud yourself. Okay, ready for another? Next one is a little bit longer. This was submitted by Alexander. Okay, and this one is longer, but this is going to introduce us to another skill that we need to master. So in the previous tale, we first looked at how to format a title, which words to capitalize, and we focused on vocabulary like synonyms. So here, let's first read it and try to make sense of it. But there is going to be a challenge visually when I read this, and it has to do with punctuation and also separation of text from speech. So, but still, I think you'll enjoy the overall story. This is based, as I understand, on some theories that are being discussed online, and also Alexander's imagination. So I think it's a combination of imagination and theories that are being discussed on the internet. Okay? All right. Once in the forest, two hedgehogs were sitting in a clearing. They were having a leisurely conversation about their relatives who had been visiting and had recently returned home. My brother had been to China, says one hedgehog. There he saw traces of extraterrestrial civilization, which the Chinese refer to as the culture, I'll put that in, refer to as the culture of Hongshan. The last one includes 36 huge caves found in 1999 in the Hongshan Mountains. The area of the largest of them reaches 12,600 square meters. There is no doubt that the caves are man-made. Most of them are of regular geometric shape. The vault is supported by columns, and inside there are pools, bridges over underground rivers, stairs and passages. My uncle, says another, was on the moon. He flew there on a large ship several kilometers long. The moon is hollow and inhabited inside. Has he seen aliens on the moon? His friend asked. No, the hedgehog replied and poured some more wine into the glass. They say that there are two types of aliens, good and evil. Devils and angels? His interlocutor was surprised. How to figure it out? The hedgehog thought for a while and said confidently, I think we need another bottle of wine to answer this question. Okay. A bit longer of a story. So you get the idea that it's a strange little conversation between two hedgehogs. Okay. So it's a very creative and not just telling us what these theories are, but making it a conversation. If it is a conversation, in English, we use the quotation marks, and that's what's missing from this text. It will make it easier to read if we put them in. So let's go back and start making this a little clearer for a reader. Once in the forest, I say once, you could say once in the forest, but I don't know which forest you're talking about. So you could say once in a forest, some forest in some faraway land. Once in a forest. It's not a mistake. You could leave it too. It's like the mountains, the countryside, once in the forest. We could leave it too. Once in the forest, two hedgehogs were sitting in a clearing, like an open space. They were having a leisurely conversation about their relatives who had been visiting and had recently returned home. That's fine. Okay. So the first thing is to put a quotation mark there. Where does it end? So in English, we use those quotation marks. The comma goes inside. My brother, I would say, okay, if the brother still might do some more traveling, present perfect would be more appropriate. Has been to China, like he's been there. Have been to somewhere means you visited that place. My brother has been to China. And now it seems like the conversation continues, so I need another quotation mark. So where does that end? All the way down here. That's how long it is. Okay, so the first piece of quoted speech is quite long. The reporting verb is says. The reporting clause is written like that. Okay? There he saw trace in it. What's the Chinese? I would say the largest of them reaches this measurement. Now here, okay, there's no doubt that the caves are man-made. Okay, so I guess some people think, hey, maybe they're made by aliens. Some people say, no, they're man-made. I guess that's what the debate is about, are of regular geometric, I think geometric, I'm not sure about regular. I would say have geometric shapes. Most of them are of, it's fine, but I think it would be less wordy to simply say have geometric shapes. And then we start a new sentence. And inside there are pools, bridges, stairs, and passages. Okay, sounds like an interesting place. You can Google, by the way. I was curious when I first saw this. I started to Google the Hongshan Mountains, and I saw caves or something called grottos with water inside. So Google it and you'll see some very strange and beautiful images. And there are tours that allow you to visit these places. The mountains are beautiful and dangerous, I would say. I saw some tourists climbing and also walking in places that you couldn't pay me to, because I'd be so fearful. I'd be so scared of falling. So go ahead and Google that. But they're beautiful, beautiful places of nature. Okay, so what did we learn from the punctuation? We need to repeat this again. This is the start of what the other hedgehog says. So I need to end. The comma goes inside. Now look, this is a really good opportunity for you to learn what happens, okay? This is a full sentence. Look at that for a moment. My brother has been to China, comma, end quote, reporting clause, period. A new sentence starts, okay? Down here, the sentence is broken up. So I use a comma, end quote, reporting clause, another comma, and then I start the remainder of that sentence. So this is not going to start with a capital W because it continues. My uncle was on the moon, but the reporting clause interrupts. So the punctuation will look like this. My uncle says another was on the moon. Okay, so it seems like we need to find where that ends. I believe it ends there. Okay, so again, this is a wonderful opportunity for you to learn punctuation. Again, all final sentence punctuation goes inside. We're starting a new one. Whoopsies, that didn't work. Okay, wait. Has he seen aliens on the moon? No. Whoopsies. Whoopsies. My fingers are going too fast. They say that there are two types of aliens, good and evil. Do you see, each time I start a new line, I'm going to separate, because this helps me understand how the dialogue goes back and forth. You can try this too. You can write a short little dialogue, whether it's a spooky story or not, but each time a person speaks, we're going to have a line break so that we can understand a new person is talking, okay? So each time a person speaks, I'm going to do a line break. Okay. How to figure how it is possible to use those infinitives. I might ask that differently. How are we supposed to figure it out? I think the full question would be clearer. The hedgehog thought for a while and said confidently. And look, the reporting speech can lead into a quote, so I'm going to use a comma. And final punctuation goes inside. How are we supposed to figure it out? The hedgehog thought for a while and said confidently, I think we need another bottle of wine to answer this question. And again, because all of that final direct speech is the same speaker, we can keep it all together. Okay? Alexander, you did very well. All right, you wrote so much, so I'm really proud of you for testing your limits and really pushing yourself to write so much. That was wonderful. But punctuation is different in English. So hopefully what you and what others have learned from this tale is the need to use quotation marks and how to use those quotation marks. So again, I'll scroll back just a little bit so you can study those examples of when it gets interrupted and the reporting clause goes in the middle, or when it follows. We also have more reporting verbs here in this tale, like replied. Previously, we saw swore and tell. Here we have replied. Okay. A new word for some of you might be this one, interlocutor. Inter means like a connection. Think of international or like internet that connects us. So this has to do with speaking. So it's someone that you're speaking with, someone that you're conversing with, right? So it's a formal word, but it's one that you can figure out once you break it into parts. Interlocutor. This tells us it's a noun, like doctor, teacher. Those O-R-E-R endings is someone. So someone that you're exchanging speech with, you're talking with, okay? All right, thank you, thank you. And we're going to jump to our final tale as we wind down. This was submitted privately by Melanie, and I'm very happy to share it with you. Let me take a sip of tea and we'll read Melanie's story. So I want to make sure that my video is not blocking it. How's that? Is that good? I think it's still blocking. Based on a true story here. When I was 12 years old, I remember going to my friends for a slumber party. It was around Halloween, and they went all out with their decorations. At bedtime, my friend's mom came to say goodnight, and she told us that if we heard any noises in the wee hours, we shouldn't get scared. Apparently, the house was haunted by a young girl that used to live there. My friend and I laughed and said that was impossible, and we weren't little kids that fall for those types of stories. We were going to bed when out of nowhere we heard the knob shaking, like someone was trying to come in. We jumped out of bed and hid in the closet. Okay. Fun, right? Okay. I think it's fine to start when I was 12 years old. Another way to phrase that sentence, by the way, is you can say, I remember going to my friends for a slumber party when I was 12 years old. Yeah, when I was 12 years old, I remember. Because it almost logically gets confused. Like, do you remember going when you were 12, or when you were 12 you remembered? Right? So just to be a little clear, it's pretty logical. I think we all understand a person's telling a memory, but I might prefer this word order just for clarity. I remember going to my friends for a slumber party when I was 12 years old. Is this new for some of you, a slumber party? We also use the word sleepover. Sleepover, when you sleep over at a friend's house. But a slumber party can imply number of guests. So more typical of girls, I think, than boys. But, a slumber party is when a number of children go over and sleep at one person's home. And of course, they really don't sleep. They usually stay up quite late having fun. Okay. It was around Halloween. And they went all out. Good expression. Go all out. I'm going to pause and ask if someone understands that, knows it, or can guess from context. Tell me what it means to go all out. Did they have a lot of decorations, a few decorations, no decorations? They went all out with their decorations. At bedtime, my friend's mom came to say goodnight. She told us that if we heard any noises in the wee hours, we shouldn't get scared. This is a good expression. I'm very happy that Melanie put it in there because that was something that I had introduced in a previous lesson on YouTube on the daily routine. And I told you about staying up into the wee hours. The wee hours are the very late hours, the early morning hours. So hopefully you do not stay up every night into the wee hours. Hopefully you go to bed at a reasonable time, something I'm trying to teach myself to do as well. Hi, MHD. Apparently the house was haunted by a young girl that. Now I highlighted that because, again, we're talking about a general goal that all of us can strive towards as writers is to reduce repetition. So I saw that here 3 times, and the challenge is, could we at least take one of them away? Can we find a way to drop it or replace it? And I think we can. If you look at the grammar, we see that is being used twice as a relative pronoun. A young girl that used to live there. Little kids that fall for those types of stories. What other relative pronoun can we use for people? What other relative pronoun can we use for people? And here, you might consider, said it was impossible. I like that. That was impossible. But again, if we don't want to use that 3 times or even twice so closely together, you might change it, said such a thing was impossible. It's a little longer, but it helps us avoid repeating that. Right? Was it haunted? No, such a thing was impossible. Not those. Who? Very good, Julia. Yes. Exactly. We're not using it as an object, but as a subject. So one of these can change to who. How about this one? So look what we did. We can still keep one of them, and the other ones have changed now. Let me read that section. Apparently, the house was haunted by a young girl that used to live there. My friend and I laughed and said such a thing was impossible, and we weren't little kids who fall for those types of stories. Good, right? And then finally, this is perfectly fine. I like the movement of jumped out of bed. It implies like, oh, suddenly and fast. It's a very appropriate choice. When I first got back to Melanie and I saw this submission, I was suggesting an idiom. Idioms are colorful expressions, and a tale like this can use even more color. It's very exciting. I like this memory, but an idiom would jazz it up a little bit. When you want to say someone went somewhere quickly and suddenly, you can move like a rocket. And how would you move like a rocket? What does a rocket do? It goes up in the air. It shoots up in the air. So you might say, we shot out of bed like a rocket. How about that? Now that's even more colorful. We were going to bed when out of nowhere we heard the knob shaking like someone was trying to come in. We shot out of bed like a rocket and hid in the closet. Does that sound fun? Again, you could have a lot of fun telling your own tale. It could be based on something true, like Melanie shared her memory from being 12 years old, going to a slumber party. Stunning Lad 1 shared the grandma in the bed with the apparition, the malevolent spirit. And then Alexander, we saw, using a combination of theories and imagination. You can talk about aliens going to the moon or living on the moon, and like mysterious caves in the mountains. So there's a number of different eerie, mysterious, or spooky tales that you can tell. If you do, challenge yourself to use different reporting verbs. Challenge yourself to replace common words with synonyms that are a little more descriptive, more advanced. And also, if you see repetition, think about what you can do grammatically to change the sentences, not just with synonyms, but sometimes grammatically we have to play around with it. So we saw with our relative clauses, our adjective clauses, we just considered different relative pronouns. Okay? Super, super. So what I'm going to invite you to do is get started. So you hopefully are inspired by some of your fellow learners here who did write their tales and submitted them. You can choose one of these openings, right? Maybe in the final minute or so, I'll get you started. choose one of these and just make it up. It can be a few sentences. It doesn't have to be a whole page. I challenged people to write around 100 words or less, 90 or 100 words, and see where it goes. You just write it out and then you revise it. You change it a few times to keep making it better, add more details. And I will give you a little heads up that one of the lessons I'm working on right now is for writing skills. So the next long video that I'll share with you is going to be one that will help you understand where your writing level is and where you want to go, and the different elements of writing at the different levels, and how you can see from one level to the next how we improve, what things we change to reach the next level, whether you're A1 going to A2, B2 going to C1. Everybody is taking steps to get to the next level. And even those who are at C1 and C2 still work to polish their own writing skills. So being a good writer takes constant practice, but you should enjoy it by writing about things that are interesting to you, that are meaningful to you. So have fun. I didn't. Okay, Julia gave us, I didn't believe in ghosts until, maybe we can use that one. Until what? Maybe you guys can throw out some ideas for me and I'll just quickly write something up for us. And maybe, Julia, that's a good idea. Maybe our title can be Seeing is Believing. Remember we talked about how we capitalize our titles, verbs, nouns, adjectives, adverbs, gerunds are going to be capitalized too. So all of these words are capitalized. Seeing is believing, right? I didn't believe in ghosts until what? Any ideas? Any suggestions? I didn't believe in ghosts until last summer when, ooh, I'm going to put my net down. That'll be, that will inspire you. What did you see? I didn't believe in ghosts until last summer. When what? Can you give me some suggestions? We'll write a quick little tale and we'll end there. What do you want to put into this tale? A witch, a ghost, a monster, an alien? Have fun. It's all imagination. It's just for fun. When I celebrate Halloween, it's just, you know, it's a fun celebration. I don't like when it gets gory and gross. I just like the spine-chilling tales, you know, that woo, you know, I like jump scares. There's a good word. A jump scare isn't that kind of movie where something surprises you, like, oh, it surprises you and you almost jump a little in your seat. That's called a jump scare. So if it's scary in a fun and an exciting way, then I like it. Ooh, an eerie sound. I like that. Blood-curdling image. You have some good adjectives, Julia. When I suddenly woke up in the middle of the night to a blood-curdling scream. That's compliments of Julia. Okay, I'll take the next one. I was alone at home and I knew the sound had come from the kitchen. Instead of hiding in bed, I went down to investigate, right? Instead of to look, my mind thinks, wait, I know a better word than look, investigate. And instead of just, I went down the stairs, because went, I slowly descended, right? Went down, I slowly descended and quietly walked to the kitchen. Oh, what do you think happens? I reached out to turn on the lights. And I think I'm going to end there, and I'm going to let you guys have fun, okay? Whether it's, I'm not going to, I have an idea in my head, but you can make it funny, you can make it scary, okay? So I'm going to leave that open, and you can share right now as I'm winding down. And if you're watching the recording, I'll let you also put your ideas in the comments, okay? So let me read it again to get you into the mood, so you can keep it scary from beginning to end, or maybe you can switch it around and put a funny ending in. Seeing is believing. I didn't believe in ghosts until last summer, when I suddenly woke up in the middle of the night to a blood-curdling scream. I was alone at home, and I knew the sound had come from the kitchen. Instead of hiding in bed, I went down to investigate. I slowly descended and quietly walked to the kitchen. I reached out to turn on the lights, and ducking into bed, hiding in bed. And I like ducking. Ducking is good. Ducking is to go under. So instead of hiding in bed and ducking under the covers, that's a typical way of using ducking. Ducking under the covers. Okay. All right. Have fun. Give me an ending. Okay. I wanted to have I think I had a list here somewhere. Ugh. What do I do with it? I did. I put a list here of... Oh, I did. Because I was thinking, guys, so if you like spooky tales or any kind of tales, you know, you can find plenty of scary movies online. Do I like scary movies? Yes, to some degree, but the ones that have jump scares. I do want to remind you that I have a collection of movie reviews. They do not include no horror films, but I'm still willing to tell you right now some of my favorite ones. So if you go to my homepage on YouTube, and I'll put the link in the chat here in a moment, you can get a free digital download if you like me reading different reviews. You can hear me, you can listen to me, you can read along, because I'm giving you a PDF as well as the MP3 recordings and some advice through a how-to video. This is a collection of 10 movie reviews, and you're welcome to download it today if you haven't yet already, and start practicing. So it's good for listening, it's good for vocabulary, and you can do that, you know, little by little on your own. You don't have to finish all of this in a week or even a month. You just space it out as time allows, and little by little you improve your listening as well as your vocabulary. But feel free to put some of your favorite scary movies in the chat, but I quickly jotted down some of my favorite ones. Let me come back here and see if I can go to webcam only. Okay, so thumbs up if you know the movies. I like Poltergeist. I've always liked the movie Poltergeist, Steven Spielberg. It has some humor, it has some jump scares, a little gory here and there, but for the most part, I like Poltergeist. I like The Others with Nicole Kidman. The Others. Ooh, that one's very surprising. If you don't know the movie, the first time you watch it, you'll be surprised how everything turns out. The Others with Nicole Kidman. Do you know that one? I also like The Sixth Sense. The Sixth Sense is one of my favorites. Hallie Joel Osment was a child actor, probably one of the best child actors I've ever seen. But the woman who plays the mother is also very good. Bruce Willis stars in the Sixth Sense, but the mom and the son are phenomenal. I love that movie. Very well done. Yvonne and I had mentioned earlier that Stranger Things, you know, the series Stranger Things, very strange. It is a gory, violent, and sometimes a funny way, but I enjoy that series. Charmed. I like that series as well, but the original one, Charmed, I like that one from the 1990s into the early 2000s. Another one is Signs with Mel Gibson and what's his name? Oh, Joaquin Phoenix. Signs. very interesting. If you like scary with some aliens, Signs is another good one. And if you just want to laugh, there's the classic Ghostbusters, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Howard Ramis? Forgive me for getting the third. But again, there it is. Poltergeist, The Others, The Sixth Sense, Stranger Things, Charmed, Signs, and Ghostbusters. Those are some of my favorites that would be appropriate for the Halloween season. Okay. Oh, I like that. Tiptoe. I like that. So have fun, guys. With that text that we ended with, you can use it as is. You can also jazz it up. So again, I use some words and I changed on the spot, from look to investigate, but I'm seeing you guys are already generating better alternatives. Instead of walk quietly, tiptoe. That's an excellent suggestion. So you can definitely work to improve the text. So go back when this is over, pause the video so you can see the text and suggest some changes, and also propose your own ending. Okay? All right, guys, I'm going to wind down. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope you found things useful with synonyms and punctuation, and I hope you will test your creativity and write. Remember, one of the most common requests is like, I want to learn to speak well. I want to speak well. But there are more skills than speaking. If you learn to write, it will help your speaking as well. Writing is a chance to pool your vocabulary and grammar together. And if you make the grammar and vocabulary, if you strengthen it in your mind through your writing, it will become more accessible in your speaking. It will become more automatic. You have to use it to make it very familiar. And once it's familiar, then it becomes automatic. Maybe spirit and apparition or malevolent. These were new words for you today. Or you think, I know the word tiptoe, but it would take me a while to think of it. But if you practice saying it and practice writing with it, you'll make that word and other words more familiar. And then you will be able to access those words more easily when you speak. So don't forget that reading and writing are important skills, but they also will help you boost your speaking skills and your confidence speaking as well. Okay? All right, guys, we're going to end. Thank you for being here, and I'm going to, let me see if I can do that quickly. The chat, where is that link for you? So again, if you have not downloaded this, I'm going to put it here for you. Okay, that's totally free. It's my movie review, okay? And hopefully, if you have not downloaded it, download it today. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your participation. My Hippo, you're most welcome. Okay. Happy Halloween, everybody. I wish I could give you candy. If you all came to my door, I'd hand out the candy and say Happy Halloween. But in any case, thank you for sharing the morning with me, and I wish you a happy November. So today was in place of the November 1st live stream, but we'll see each other again soon enough. Look out for the new videos, and thank you again. Take care, everyone. Bye.